Anne Phillips here, Music, Mind and Well-being. Well, I've got a treat for you today. Dar Mayweather is here. He's a diversity expert, and let me leave it to him just to do a small introduction, because when you think of diversity, many of our minds run to just one type of area. Dar, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, thank you for the introduction. Thank you for this opportunity to share just the journey with folks, and hopefully we can just have a conversation. Dar Mayweather, I am a leadership studies faculty member at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. Also, as an entrepreneur, I am a diversity consultant. I help organization leaders build relationships across diversity without centering shame, blame, and guilt. And I also help diversity leaders become diversity speakers and create scalable diversity companies to enter the $8 billion diversity consulting industry. So I do those things, right? And it's really important for me to also share that I'm a husband, I'm a father. I love Marvel Comics, DC Comics. I love comic books and cartoon characters, anime, those things. I love watching movies. I love going to the beach, playing sports. I'm a regular guy, right? So like we talk about diversity, it's not just because I'm a Black man from America, like born and raised in Michigan, I'm American, that it's all about race. It's so much more than that. It's so much more than gender. It's so much more than just social identity. We talk about personality styles, talk about communication styles. You're talking about conflict management styles. Like we're not just managing, when we're talking about diversity consultants, we're not just talking about oppression and marginalization. We're talking about team dynamics, right? We're talking about how do you understand the people that you work with and the stories that they hold, that they bring to the workplace. And so those are things that we talk about. Yeah.
There is one little tiny bit, like, I love the fact that when you're talking about diversity and then you're talking about like going to the beach and all these other things. And I love Marvel Comics as well. Had many, many films. Oh my goodness. I think one of the last films I watched was Don't Look Up. Great film. Seen so many. And, people now talking about like Oculus and the metaverse and all of that. There's so many rich areas to be diverse in, but you're an expert in diversity, right? In your field, really
in education. Yep. In organizational development.
But how did you get started? How did it all begin?
So first, let's break some chains.
Come then.
Okay, let's break some chains, because folks always want to know, like, how do you get in? How do you make six figures? Like, how do you build a six-figure company? Like, how do you get thousands of dollars for a couple hours of your time? Like, people always want to know that. And I love talking about that. But the reality of the situation is, like, I got into this work a couple reasons, a couple ways. The first thing is I finally accepted that there were some people who could not lead me that I worked with, right? I took jobs in spaces with managers who were good people, but could not understand the trajectory that I have for my own life.
Right.
And so therefore, what I was looking to do in my work, they weren't able to comprehend, because they didn't see the vision for my life like I saw
it. For real.
And so that's the first thing I want to tell folks, is that if you're thinking about a pivot, you're thinking about making a change, you're thinking about going into something that you love, you want to ask yourself the question of, is there people in this space that can lead me? Meaning, like, can they correct me? Can they adjust me? Can they move me and pivot me when I need adjustment?
So when you're saying somebody to lead you, what are you talking, like, when you say a supervisor, a manager, your director, etc., those who are ahead of you, What, define that for us? Make that just a bit more definitive.
Yeah. So, the beautiful thing about diversity work is that I stand on amazing shoulders, right? That are super strong, of people who have been doing this work for 30, 40, 50 years. And one of the questions that you should ask yourself is there anybody in the industry that I see myself in?
Ooh, yeah.
And so how I got into diversity, now we get into the question, is I saw a person have people talk about diversity and inclusion as a student in a way that I had never seen them do before, where people left the space with energy, with confidence. They felt like they wanted to continue the conversation. And I was 19.
Wow.
Fast forward, right, years.
You do.
I go to a conference. I get a job as a multicultural affairs coordinator, and I go to a conference, and he's on a panel speaking about being a diversity speaker.
The same person that you saw before, and it's like, you're like, this is nuts. This is mad. Wow. Okay. Did you connect? Did I connect? Yeah.
I not only connected, I invested.
Come on. That's what I'm talking about.
I think that's another thing that people misunderstand when it comes to their destiny. They believe that their destiny is just meant to just come to you. Right? What the reality of it is, like, especially when you're talking about in communities like we are in, where we're trying to work with the best people out there.
Oh, we're definitely working with the best people out there. Definitely.
The best people out there.
Yeah.
You have to recognize that there's a standard that comes along with being with the best.
Yes.
And so you need to then put yourself in a position to be available to the best.
Yes.
Not when are you going to be available for me?
That always doesn't happen. I mean, who's gonna, you've built the table, you've got it there, and then you just expect people to show up. There's no dinner invitation. You have to put it out there, and then they will come. But it's like, you invite them, you're around them, and then that table will be filled up and you will grow. That's how the diversity is going to grow around you. But I know, like, you connected and you invested. So what did that do? Because I mean, you're a PhD student now. So what was the gap, the alignment right there?
So, and that is, I'll be honest, like, before I was a diversity speaker, entrepreneur, I did it for free in the classroom at the university level for 5 years.
There you are.
Right. And so, and teaching and speaking is two different things. Right. Being in education and being in business is two different things. And so for me, I had already built a body of work. For 5 years. I had already built content that I had been teaching to people. But it wasn't really until I found a community of people who was like, I want to do this work. I want to be better. And then I found somebody who I said, I want to be like, and then they said, here's my slides, use them. Like, literally go out and do a speech. And let me know how it goes. Right. If you really want to be like me, you got to go speak. Right. And it can't be like, oh, well, I got to go find the $5,000 contract. I got to go find somebody to pay me in the honorarium. I got to go.
Just do it. Right.
Right. Like, if you're called, if you're really called, right, the passion is going to pull you to the opportunity.
Absolutely. How can you not have passion for something that you say is the driving force of your life, and it's there's that why is there, and then you're just not doing it? It just doesn't correlate.
It's sometimes we are afraid to sacrifice our comfortability for change.
Ooh. Break that down. Let's
We are
expand on that.
afraid to sacrifice our comfortability for change. And so here's something for your audience, right? I'm gonna break some chains with this one.
Come on, let's break them.
All right. Tell me the time that you transformed immensely. Like you changed 180 and was comfortable.
Ooh. You instantly know when you've operated in a 180 zone and you're flying and you're, it's like, I'm talking to you now and I know exactly how I feel. Get me in front of a crowd. I know exactly how I feel. Right. But get me talking in front of a crowd to awaken them about their mental health. I think I'm just an eagle soaring.
Oh, and like, we can even talk about mental health, right? Because how I even broke my own chain was having to get out of my own depression, having to get out of my own mental wellness struggle, right? Of imposter syndrome, of honestly, let's just be real. I started volunteering to do this work because I was hired with about 10 people at the master's level, and I was the person who was least able to articulate social justice out of the 10. I'm literally dead last. Like, I'm not this person at all. When it comes to social justice issues and sensitivities, I don't get it. I'm showing up like, what's the problem, right? And I have a master's degree, and I'm hired with 10 people who also have master's degrees who are navigating these issues seamlessly, right? And so that did something to my mental, right? When you having these, I'm a young professional, clearly coming straight out of my master's program, so I went straight through, right? So I think I'm master's 23 years old, right? Started my first professional job, and I am not doing well, especially when it comes to this work. And so I volunteered to do a train the trainer, right? To learn and then teach.
Yes.
But in the gap, I just didn't feel like I belonged. I felt like I was an outcast. I felt like I was not in a setting that was going to care for me. I just started falling into a dark place. And I'll be honest, like it was something that I watched that made me say, you just need to say you're living the dream.
Come on.
Right. Like, and then every time somebody asked me how you was doing.
Speaking over your life? Literally. Speaking that over your life. Every time. Every time somebody asked me how I was doing, even when I wasn't. And this was the moment where it finally clicked for me. I was leaving the gym. I think I was playing basketball, right? I'm still a little bit, I'm in my 20s, so I'm still feeling a little bit of the glory, right? Yeah, come on.
Still feeling a little bit of the razzle dazzle. And I got injured.
Oh, wow.
And, I needed a little assistance to get off the court, but I was able to walk home. But you can tell I was just hobbling, like it was just a bad calf injury. I mean, and I got to my apartment building. I walk in the building. I see the team, and they all like, yo, you look rough. Wow. Like, you okay? How you doing? And the first thing I said was, I'm living the dream.
Come on.
And something clicked in me. Something was like, yo, like you can actually be more than what you say you are. You actually have overcome more than what you say you did. You actually are living a life that many people want to be living in this moment.
That's right. That's right.
And that was my shift. I was like, what do I want to do with this life that I have left? What do I want to
took
give
away
to this
the
life?
imposter syndrome, right?
Kind of moving past the idea that I didn't belong and moving more into the idea of where do I belong? Right?
Yeah.
And I found the space that I belong was with at that time, telling students my mishaps.
Yes.
As it relates to being a leader that had to be responsible for people from diverse backgrounds.